Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be reviewing one of my students' games, an even game, and there's a big emphasis in this game on fighting. A huge fight breaks out, and I'm going to show kind of how both players should have handled it, and kind of talk about how to take advantages in fights. So yeah, let's get into it. Opening is pretty standard, like usual. Double, like facing 3/4 is a little unusual, but can't say it's bad. Black takes a 3/3, block, and then dives. Standard, so can't really say anything about that. Approach. Black plays the diagonal. Diagonal is the strongest response, and it's preparing for if white were to ignore this pincer. Whereas if black pinches immediately, this move is considered pretty good for black or for white. So a lot of professionals, strong players will do this move first, preparing for some sort of pincer, and it allows, like, white will probably answer somehow, but then it would allow black to play elsewhere. But I extend all the way, and black takes the corner and then jumps. Now this move, I'm not a fan of this move. So the reason why I don't think it's good is that it still leaves a weakness here, like on this side, but it also leaves a weakness here on this side, no matter where black wants to invade. So because this move actually does not protect either invasion, so either white needs to play a move like this, which helps this side a little bit more, but I think this move is the best, because it fully protects this group. If black tries to invade now, if white were to just jump, you can see white has already has a base here. Whereas, let's say something like this happens, you can see if I just jump out this way that there's weakness on this side. So I didn't really protect either side, so I think this move is better. Or it's definitely better. Now black plays an interesting move here of this kick. Now you can see once white stands up, this stone is in a very awkward spot, and black needs to add another move to fix the shape. So if black wanted the corner there, black should just kick now and extend. The point of playing this diagonal is that you're setting up an attack. So this is like preparing to attack the stone here. In the game, though, you can see, I was talking about how there's a weakness here. But when black kicks, you can see, one, this stone's in an awkward spot. We would rather have it at f17. But also, this move strengthens white's left side by a lot. So black is now giving up an attack when the point of this diagonal is to later attack. So if black wants to play on the top, black should play a move out this way. This move is worth much more than the kick, because black still needs to add a move, and it's kind of awkward to figure out where black wants to play. Like, does black go here? Does black do this? Like, it's pretty awkward shape for black now. Black ignores, though, and it approaches, which is probably the biggest move otherwise, but white's able to just play this move directly. And one, I can ignore and play here, because no matter which side, or if we were to play this Joseki, I'm able to cut, because this is a ladder breaker. So I'm not worried about, I can easily handle this stone in the bottom, but also black cannot ignore this move because f17 is looking at c18. That's kind of the weakness in black shape. You can see if black just blocks here, white can connect. If black blocks this way, white can connect. If black blocks this way, white can connect. So you can see there's a lot of moves that don't work for black. The only move that works for black is this one. However, white's then able to wedge in here, and you can see white is threatening both this cut and this cut. So if black descends, white's able to cut in sente. Reason why black doesn't want to go here is that it's still sente, I believe, because if black ignores this move, just kills the corner. So it's better point-wise for black to just go here and then play here. But you can see white would then get Sente. And the outside is worth much more than the corner. Especially with white's formation on the left side here and on the top. So if this shape shows up, you want to look for F17. Now, in the game, black just plays here, which I think is pretty slack. The two moves I would think about are this one or this move. This move has to be the move. Yeah, it protects against this move here because black can just block now, and you can see white cannot play B16. If black does this one, white can still just Hane, and then if black cuts, can just give up a little bit, but then you can see the outside here. It's going to be worth a lot. Something like this. Even white could play a little more cosmic, but you get the idea. Probably this move, actually. See, white's really going for influence here. Or white can just extend too. But also, white can maybe play this one too. This would be more complicated, but definitely still an option. So that's why I think black should just descend down. Plus this descent also, like if white answers on that side, actually creates Aji to attack the left side. So I don't know if black only considered this move, but this is definitely the most slack move. Because it's an empty triangle, like why would you want to play an empty triangle? So yeah, definitely this move's better. So what if white can do this? You're still alive, and yeah. So since that, I felt that exchange was good enough, so I just pincer down. Don't want to like extend down here somewhere because the bottom isn't what's important. The right side is what's developable potentially. So I want to get moves on the right side. Now black, I don't know if black misjudged or what, but black counter pincered, which is saying I want to try to build the bottom. However, the bottom is not that great for black or white. It's kind of like a dead zone. Because of this F3 stone, it's going to be hard, one, for black to make points, but also for white to make points. And even right now, black Hanes, now the Joseki move is to attach. And then this would be normal. But again, I don't like this for black because white's able to play this variation. And be able to make a huge influence on the right side. This would be very good for white, I would think. Even though black has 4 corners, I would still like white in this game. But that would be better than what black did in the game, where black Atari's here. Now this is a big mistake. If you want to play this wedge, you cannot, and I can't stress this enough, you cannot Hane here. You have to wedge directly. Because the reason is right now, if white Atari's from this side, the only move white can play is here. Because if white blocks here, you can just cut and threat this double Atari, and then you can capture a pretty big corner. So white needs to go here. But if white goes here, what black is saying by playing the sequence he played in the game is that he would cut here. Because this is the same shape in the game, but you can see that this move here is very bad. So that's why you do not want to make this exchange. Because you can see after this exchange, white's actually able to double Hane in the corner. And yeah, it's pretty painful. Black needs to live in the corner. That move maybe not necessary, but you can see black takes a small corner, white lives, or white takes a huge outside. Yeah, this would be probably game deciding for black. It's that bad. Whereas notice, if you wedge here and white backs off, notice now white cannot Hane here because, so in the last variation black had to go here and then get captured. But because black has an extra liberty at r7, black can actually just descend. You can see it's close, but black's able to actually win the semi-eye and keep the corner. Yeah, so because of this liberty, black's able to play this way. Whereas, let's say, again, black cuts here, white hanes. Because of that liberty, black cannot win the semi-eye now. So whenever there's a direct fight, liberties mean everything. So always keep that in mind. So because this move, playing this way, gets rid of this liberty because it forces white to take away a liberty at r7. It's not so good for black. Now maybe black was worried about white going here, but I wouldn't be. Even though this ladder actually does work for white, because it'll run into either this stone or this stone. I don't think this result's too bad for black. White will probably extend, and then black can counter extend somehow, maybe wedge, or clamp, maybe play this extension, maybe even come out this way. But you can see white has a choice here. If white wants to play up like this and let black connect, this would continue the fight. Or white can net, but then black's able to play into the corner, and white's shape is a little over concentrated. So you can see this is still not too bad for black. Probably even better for black. So yeah. So in this shape where you have like kind of like a large knight's move, I guess, and you play in the middle, because this comes up a lot, this shape, and they block on top. You cannot go here unless there's some really specific reason, like a ladder breaker or something. You cannot play there. Yeah. So black takes away his own liberty, but then he even does something I think pretty crazy. He blocks, and I'm able to cut, and he gives up the stone. Now, if you're going to give up the stone, I think you have to Atari this, because the shape otherwise is way too good for white. Even though this ko is humongous, it is humongous for both. So, like, if white plays a ko threat and black answers, you can see that this, like, black gains a lot in the corner, actually. Now, all of a sudden, this bottom is actually developable. So, yeah, this wouldn't be too bad for black. And if white just connects, you can see that making this exchange actually helps a lot in endgame, because now you can see white needs to capture, whereas if you don't make this exchange, you can see white's able to hane here and play endgame this way. So it means a lot in endgame, actually. And my student must have like a chronic fear of kos, because he refuses to play kos. So I don't know what it is, but if you want to get stronger, you have to not be afraid of ko. Because again, this is a teaching game. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen if you lose the ko? You're gonna learn how to fight kos. You're gonna learn how to look for ko threats. Like, there's only benefits. But just when black just extends here, like, it's pretty lackluster. But I don't think I did. Yeah, I come up here first, and then I play the sequence I was showing. Yeah, this is definitely the way you want to play if you want this side. If you try to play any other move, it might feel like it's going to become the same thing. Oops. Because black needs to take and then whatever. But black can actually, at this point, play like a hane and then, or Atari, and then come this way. Now, white does gain a lot. And I mean a lot in the corner. But if the right side is also very big, so. But you can see how after this variation, white's right side looks so good. So, so initially I think, going back to this scenario, I think initially this move is not so good. I think what black should do is either one, just take the corner. And the reason why this is better than in the game, because if white does the same thing as I did in the game, play this Joseki, you can see that white's side is much more open for black. So not saying this is the best way to answer, but you can see that because this area has a lot more Aji, black's more easily able to reduce somehow, maybe even attack the 3 stones. There's a lot more Aji is the main thing. I think black can also maybe jump once. If white jumps, then pincer. Pincer or jumps, just jump again, maybe even do this one. So I think black had many options, but I think he chose a poor option of the double approach. Even after this move, maybe white covers and then come here. I don't know, something. Just play on the right side, not the left, not on the bottom. So yeah, that black double approached. Oops, black double approached. Oops, sorry about that. Gives white very good thickness, and then comes across, and you can see, yeah, look at this. You can almost count that as like 4th line territory because black cannot invade too deeply. Black plays on the largest side, so I think this is probably the next biggest move. Hane. This move is Sente. If black does ignore, white's able to actually capture the 2 stones in the corner. But black plays a very strange move and goes here. Oops. Goes here. Which, if I wanted to, I could extend again, and this is again Sente. Because I can capture the corner. So, he's basically given me 2 forcing moves while letting me take the corner. So black should just block. Even though white can get this Atari, because there's still a cut here, it's not as big as white taking points in the corner. So yeah, this is definitely a strange choice as opposed to playing this one. The corner's big. Like black needs to extend down, and white has gained like 5 points in Sente. So black answers, and then I jump. Again, really emphasizing the right side. And then black peeps, which I think is a good move. Now, I've said this on many times. When you play a peep, all you're doing is seeing how your opponent responds. You do not need to play from the peep. It's just to see how your opponent responds. So in the game, I extended here. Now what black should do is just be like, oh, okay, you're going to play from that direction. Then I will, maybe something like this happens, and then maybe I'll do something like this. Just see how your opponent responds. Maybe even play something a little deeper if you're feeling confident. Maybe this one actually. This is hard to seal this move in. And you can see black has gained a lot on the top. But you can see, because again, this move is in the middle of white's shark tank, I guess. What black does is black goes here. Really trying to get me to answer, but I just come down. You can see if black cuts, white's able to play this move. And if black, it's pretty awkward for black. So if black plays from this side, white can Hane and then clamp. Clamp's the key move. Black cannot descend down because of this cut on this side. Something like this might happen. You can see this is very good for whites. So maybe black can go here, but because this move is Sente and then playing here, black cannot get rid of white's good shape here. So yeah, black can't even like answer, like can't even cut now, so he just plays here. But you can see, even though black might be living in white's moyo, this group is not gaining black any points. So he's only thinking about the minus, like I'm getting rid of my opponent's points, as opposed to the loss that he's taking on the top as well. Like let's just say white goes here and then black. Let's just say black lives somehow. Let's say if white went here, you can see white actually has made up the points over here on the top. Where the top, if black had answered white's initial move, could have been black's. I don't know how black would play, but you get the idea. Right, black is gaining points here. So you can't just always be like, oh, I have to keep getting, I can't let my opponent have any points, because that's not how you're going to win games. Now, black wanted to play directly from the peep. Black needs to play once more here. Probably this move, because there's a better connection if white ignores. Right now, there's not a really clear move. Or again, if black just stays light, but you get the idea. Preparing first is the main idea, because if I were to ask you what is the connection between these stones, it's like they're light years apart almost on a Go board. They have some connection, but if white is able to just cut them off, then it's not good. Whereas playing a move closer, even something like this, even just something closer, there's a better connection. So I don't mind the peep, but it needed to be answered correctly. So if black wanted to play from the peep, he needed to play a move closer to the peep. Because again, this is white's area of influence, so you have to not be so, I don't know, careless, I guess. But white comes down. Again, this is damaging black's potential top that he could have had. But black plays here, which is good shape, but again, this is just a bunch of floating stones. I fix, and then black plays here. Again, I don't understand this move. Like, he's forcing me to cut him. This move, one, is much better, because again, I always think about shapes. There's a connection here. There's a large knight's move. You play here, there's no connection here. That means later, I'm able to play a move like this and cut black's shape. Whereas if black played a little bit off, you can see, oops, you can see black's shape here is much better, much better, because there's a connection here. So one, you don't want to play almost like a self peep, right? There's a one space jump here, and white already has the peeping move at L16. You want to avoid doing that. So playing this move is much better. Plus, this is an interesting thing about Mii that people do not understand. And I don't blame them. It's just something that's kind of hidden with Mii. So there's a cut here, right? There's a potential cut here, but I showed white's already basically alive at the top. But there's also these three stones here, and it's kind of Mii. If white takes, black takes the cut, white will just play from this side. So there is some Mii here. Now Mii is if there's equal points of, like, there's spots of equal points where if your opponent takes one, I take the other. But in this case, this cut here is just dame, so it's actually worth nothing. Whereas if black is able to, let's say, force white, like let's say white ignores, if black's able to force white to connect, not only is this going to help black on the right side, but it's going to take away points and force white to connect. So black was playing from this side with this move, but black really needed to play a move on this side somewhere. Even if white just answers, you can see black's actually going to be able to get a pretty good shape in the center, actually. Again, if white ignores, though, black's going to be able to force white to play this very uninteresting move, just a dame point, really. Yeah, even if white tries to come back, you can see that black shape is still really good. So yeah, so black should have played from the other side, kind of force white to take this dame spot. I think it was good he didn't cut, but it's almost Mii, but because the value of the cut is worth nothing for either player, yeah, I think it's much better. And again, if white ignores, I don't know, black's actually able to just cut and then capture the three stones. So white definitely needs to answer. So black definitely needed to play from this side, not damage the top. Because if black's able to come back and play here, black's actually not doing too bad. He's flattened white to the third line on the right side. Got to play the first move on the top, and white really didn't gain much on the top. So black didn't look at both directions, I guess, was the key thing. And this move in and of itself is a poor choice because you're forcing white to cut you, and then he even just extends. He even just covers. So I cut, and then he extends, and then I hane here. So I think again this because the corner is still ko. If black ignores, this corner is still ko. So black's alive in ko. So while it is a big move, I think just going here is just bigger. Because even if black ignores after that move, because it's maybe go here. Yeah, white's spending a lot of moves to capture 20 points. So it's a big spot, but since black's already behind, in my opinion, although I guess the score of a game is not opinionated, but still, just by eyeballing it, I would rather have white in this situation. But so black needs to do something to get back into the game. So yeah, definitely maybe should ignore, because not only does this mean his corner is smaller, that means white gets sente and yada yada yada, lots of benefits, and white gets the first move in the center. That's the key thing. Black jumps, hane. Now black connects, but this is a big no-no, because white's just able to extend again. And you can see if black covers, white's actually able to cut across here and can't really do much. Black cuts, you can see black's liberties here are not good at all. Viatar's this way. You can see black wins the semi here, or white wins the semi. So black needs to play a move like this, but even this move is sente, and then white's able to just take the entire outside, which would be catastrophic for black. So black's shape here is very bad. So in the game, black goes here, but one, there's still this potential cut across later. So I think black should. This is better, Aji wise, because even though white can take, doesn't matter. White might be able to wedge, but it kind of forces white to give up a stone. And by giving up that stone, you can see that now if white cuts across, black's actually able to connect. So yeah, definitely this move's better if black wants to play from the top, which I think he does, but this move's too greedy. I play it here. Black dives. Again, since black's already alive in the corner, I really think black does not have time to play there. He needs to help these stones somehow. He needs to do something on the left side. If you're behind, oops. If you're behind, you can't just follow your opponent around. You have to make things happen. And if you're already alive, you don't need to answer. Again, this move is big. It's definitely not small. But white has just exchanged a fourth line move with your second line move. So it can't feel satisfactory for black. So I now extend. And again, black plays a very funny move. Why doesn't he just extend? Try to get as much points as possible. So black has lost at least. After this, black has lost between from this move here, or actually let's go from this move here to this move. Black has at least lost 20 points. That's how much these like end game-ish moves on the side can change. It's 20-point difference at least. So white just extends down. It's a big move. Helps protect the left side, and it threatens to get into the corner. Now a lot of people are always curious, why don't you hane? Because it looks like you get more out of the corner, but you actually lose a lot in the corner. Because one, if black answers this, you still get to hane. Right? Now it's true that you still get the hane in the other scenario, but you might not. Like black is able to come down if he wants. But the main thing is, if your opponent ignores, you are now able to jump as opposed to just crawl here. So that's the difference, is that you're looking for a deeper invasion. Whereas you can see here, if black ignores now, all you can get is just the Hane on the first line. So it's not as threatening, whereas this move threatens a lot more in the corner. So yeah, the descent is definitely better most of the time, especially if they have, once you Hane and they have a tiger's mouth. So yeah, this move's definitely better. But now black attaches. Does he finally realize he cannot keep answering white, so he tries to start something on the left side. Of course, white tries to connect, and black double Hanes. White cuts, and then white takes the stone. So this is a mistake. White should just connect. If black tries to save the stone, white would just give up the stone happily, and black hasn't really gained much. Sure, he's reduced white, but white's completely alive in Sente. So even if black takes, whether white goes there or does something out in the center or what have you, even comes back to the right side. So it'd be good for white. If black descends down to try to force white to capture, white has so many liberties that it's not really going to be of that much value. If black had more stones directly touching, it would be better, but in this case, it's not so good. The game, though, I went here. Now, black cuts, which is, of course, the main issue, I guess. But I think at this point, so directly, black cannot ladder this stone because it's going to run into this stone here. But I think black could have played a sharp move. So one, black, again, should just play the ko. One, if white connects and you get to extend back, this exchange is good for black because white doesn't have an eye here now. Whereas later, if white gets this Hane, you can see white definitely has an eye here, which means white's completely settled. And if white tries to play this ko and loses it, I don't know, whatever. You can see not only does this kill the upper side, but it also severely attacks the left side. So black should definitely threaten this ko. There's no way white is going to not connect. White will definitely connect. And then even when you extend, this exchange is good. This exchange is very good. Now, I think at this point, though, so we have this ladder situation. But that means any move along this line is quote-unquote Sente. So I think at this point right here, black needs to be able to read ahead. And this is, again, if you're a Q player trying to get stronger, try to reach the Don ranks, you have to be able to read ahead and try to assess what you need in the future. What's going to be helpful later. So I can see that, okay, I can capture this white. So this white stone here, it runs into this stone here. But that means any move along here is Sente. So what if I play a move like this? If white does something on this side, maybe just takes or whatever, I'm able to cut across and for now capture the stone, which is pretty big actually. If white answers somehow, now I'm able to capture the stone in a ladder because I've already placed the stone on the board. The reason why you don't want to play the cut first is that you're going to show your you're going to force white. There's more aji. Let me rephrase it this way. There's more aji if you don't cut first. For example, if you go here and let's say white takes, that means later you can still invade. If white connects solidly here, that means later you can still Atari. So you're leaving much more options on the side, whereas if you play all these moves first, and then you try this, you can see when white just extends, there's a lot less aji. Black can't turn here now. Black really can't invade as deeply. So again, I always compare it to poker, where you're trying to keep your hand hidden for as long as possible until you need to show them what you have. So you want to keep things secret. Yeah. So at this point, black should play a move like this. Black cuts, and then just extends. So the extension again is still fine, but it's going to make the fighting a lot more complicated. White, of course, extends up. Doesn't want black to net the stone. And black jumps, which I think is a good move. Then I extend, and black jumps. And then I play this move. This is a good asking move. Now, usually black should just connect. Or go here. So those are the two normal options. The difference is this one puts less pressure when white jumps out into the center. With this one, this means white's able to play this move in sente. So if black cares more about the outside, black should play this move. If black cares more about the corner, black should play this one. Because notice this move is now not sente in the corner. Whereas if you go here, it is sente because they're starting this cut. Also, do not do the Satari. It's a very Aji-Keshi move because it doesn't change the fact that you can still go here. And without this exchange, later, let's just add some stones. If you get this move, if you hadn't made that Atari, you can actually play this move here. And you can see if black tries to block you, you can actually cut. If black blocks this way, you can cut. So black needs to connect, but then you can extend back. You can actually reduce black's corner by a lot. So don't do this Atari. It's a co-threat, and it leaves Aji later with this extension here at h3. Just thought I'd throw that out there in case you didn't know. Now, what black does is black doesn't do either move. So this is, of course, the most slack. Because not only does it still leave this cut, which means white still gets this move. Notice if black had done this one, even though white gets this move, white can only run out with a one-space jump. Any other move, black can actually just cut it directly. Because this move is closer. But notice in the game when black goes here and white cuts, this is what happened in this game. It's like cut, extend down, he fixes, and when I jump, notice black's actually not able to cleanly cut white without damaging the other side. So black doesn't get either benefit of either move. So black played very poorly in the bottom left corner. So this Joseki comes up a lot. So if your opponent ever plays here, it's either this move or this move. Those are the two options. Never this one. Jumps, extends up, and then I play peep, and then this move. So this move's a very good move actually, and it kind of makes this. You can see that it's got to make things not super complicated, but you just got to be able to read a few moves ahead. So of course, black's first instinct is to cut here, because why wouldn't it be? But notice after white turns here, black's actually not able to capture white. Because, one, I think white can just directly ladder this because of this stone. But also white can just double Atari as well. So, this would be a disaster for black, of course. So black can't cut white off from this side. But if black goes something like this one, when white extends back, notice if black captures, white's actually able to capture the 3 stones. So black would like to be able to connect, but you can see after white connects here and black goes here, white's actually able to wedge. And again, this is just, you can just see that this is super painful for black. Black connects here, white can cut and cut. If black protects from this side though, this move is a cut, but also an Atari, so that wouldn't be good either. So I guess black didn't see that move, because once he spends a move here, he definitely wants to try to save the 3 stones. So like doing this one wouldn't be good for black at all, because he's just giving up more stones. So I'm guessing he didn't see the move. It's definitely a sharp move. I'm very happy that I saw this move. Because I was thinking like, oh, if I just Hane, he'll peep here, which is actually threatening this group, or he might even Atari first and then peep. Maybe extend down once. And do something else, but yeah, actually white doesn't need to answer that, so maybe black just does something else. But you can see black's shape here is pretty good actually. So because I actually read this that I didn't like this. I didn't want to force him to go here, this move, so I tried to look for something else, and thankfully there was something else. Also, black can't go this way. It's very similar. Black has too many weaknesses, so sharp move, very good move by white. What does black do in the game? Black just goes here, so I can extend back, but then black actually extends back. And you can see, and he takes the stone off, which is probably a smart idea, but you can see black has a weak group here, a weak group here, and a weak group here. White has a weak group here and a weak group here. But white has friends here, and friends here. Whereas black's, this group and this group is caught again inside the shark tank. So this is going to be very difficult for black. And then he gets Gote as well. So I don't know why he just doesn't. Maybe play a move like this. If white extends this way, then black's actually able to connect back. Although that is pretty dangerous. It's complicated, but the way black played in the game is definitely not good because what does he do? Oh, I went here first. Yeah. And then he takes, trying to set up a cut because he can't cut directly and then do something else. Let's just add some stones because this cut actually works for white. White would win the semi-eye. So he's correct that he needs to take the stone off probably eventually, but he loses tempo in the fighting. So whenever there's a fight, you need to stay on, you need to keep the flow, aka you need to have Sente. Sente is everything. When you have running fights like this with weak groups everywhere, you need to stay sharp. You can't give up the flow ever. So I wedge in again, keeping it so that if he cuts, it's an Atari. There's probably I should probably just connect. It's just easier that way. I still get my Atari later if I want it, but it ensures that I'm connected. Whereas going here, while black can't do it right now, he can technically cut at some point. So I should just fix. Black Hanes. And extend, and then black plays here, and then plays this bamboo joint. So this is very vulgar. Although it does help black get eyes, the move that comes to my attention is this move here. This has to be the move, I think, because one, it is threatening to cut white off, because now black can attach, and there's two weaknesses. White goes here, black can cut. White goes here, black can wedge and cut off these stones. So it is threatening. So white needs to protect somehow. But black is still able to attack the bottom. Like if white ignores. It can still attack somehow. And if black can isolate this group here and kill it, it might be enough for black to get into the game. Of course, white's right and center is pretty huge, so if white just goes here, I'm not sure black has enough. But still, it would be a good fighting chance to get back into the game. But you do this one, and notice by black playing here, black's getting ahead in the fight. Black is ahead of white, and that's very important. Whereas going here, it doesn't help black get ahead of white. Bamboo joint. It is an empty triangle, but it's a bamboo joint, so... yeah, and then black trying to save everything, but notice we have a weak group here and a weak group here. Now of course we have a weak group here, but black should take an advantage on the bottom first, like go here, at least play this move first, you know, get your forcing moves out of the way while you can, because maybe white's able to just lean here and attack black. So It's positional judgment, direction of play, all these terms that all Let's Go players have heard before, all come together whenever there's a running fight. You need to be able to, whoever is better at cumulatively all those different skill sets is gonna have an advantage, a huge advantage. So, and I don't know the spot either. Like I would either expect here, because it's a shape point, black actually starts to get an eye there, or here because it takes away liberties. Yeah, but I don't know why he chose this spot. It's very interesting to say the least. The game, where do I go in the game? Okay, I extend because he is threatening to cut this. So I didn't want that, so I played here. And then he comes down, which again, everything I was talking about, keeping flow, keeping sente, all these things, I don't understand this move. If you are alive in the upper left without this move, you do not have time to play there. You need to do something else. And black is already alive. So if white goes here, black is then able to descend down, and black has enough space in the upper left to live. If white goes here though, if white goes here, sure, it's gonna be small, but you're alive, and you got the first move in the center. So, black, this lost a lot of tempo for black. So this was definitely not a great move. So I play here, and taking out his eyes while making myself an eye. He extends, and then I hane. And he peeps, but I keep my eyes on the prize, not doing anything like this, where he gets to attack me. Just, okay, this upper group is still weak, so I don't care about this peeping stone necessarily. Black extends, I can extend, and he jumps. Peep, and then hane. And at this point, black is really running out of options on what he can do. Black hanes. I hane once, and then I fix my shape. I knew he would answer this because if he doesn't answer, it would let me connect. Black Ataris, which I don't think is that good of a move, because this move actually also threatens to cut, but you can see it actually is better eye shape wise. Whereas this move actually doesn't help black get any eyes. Notice if white goes here, black's actually able to cut. So that's the point of the move. So yeah, always, what's the saying? There's always more than one way to peep. So this was peeping, but this move was also peeping. The cut. Now black comes from the top, but he has too much moves to. He has too many things to juggle. Think about how much of a difference it would make. Like when black went here, notice I said black should go here. Think about if black, in this scenario, of course the game would be different because I would play differently and both players would. But think about if black already had this stone on the board instead of the stone at b16. Black could just easily hane, and the fight would be pretty hard for white actually. But because black lost tempo, this is why black needs to spend the stone here. So this is why in a fight, direction of play, sente, keeping flow are all very important. But you can see now that this group is basically connected, black has a weak group here and a weak group here, whereas white only has a weak one group in the center. So it's going to be pretty difficult for black. Black cuts. I just cut here. It's a big move, I guess. Didn't really know where else to play. And he tries this, but I showed this earlier. White can clamp. And then he has to come back. He cannot Atari because I can Atari here. He needs to do this. Just pull back. And then he comes back. But again, those exchanges kind of help black, but not a whole lot. Cuts, extends, connects, and you can see now he just gives up this center, which is understandable, but again, it's hard to read ahead, but you need to get that instinct where it's like, should I give up these stones when they were just these 2 stones, like all the way back when black extended the 3rd line or extended the 3rd stone? Should I have given them up when they were just 5 stones, but now notice he gave them up when they were pretty large? Like, that's a pretty large center because black also lost these 4 stones. So Hane, extend back. There's no way black can cut white off. So black can net. And so black's connected his groups. This actually just cleanly connects, but at a big cost on the center and the top. And white gets sent to come back and play this move, which captures these stones here. Black blocks. White's able to cut. Hane. Yeah. At this point, there's not a whole lot left. There's just a little thing here where black tries to cut white off, but white has a very nice move. I'll give you some time to see it or read it if you want to. How can you connect white? White in the game played this diagonal, which is a very nice move. And that's why I ignored this move initially, because I knew there was some cuts here, but I knew I had Aji in the corner. So notice if black saves the corner, white's able to connect here. And here we have a monkey jump connection. If black wants to try to get rid of that, well, then white gets a ko for the whole corner. And white actually has a lot of ko threats, so this would be pretty hard for black. It's a flower ko for white, which is the main thing. White doesn't lose much if white loses this. And white has so many ko threats there with this move. It's pretty difficult. So in the game, black just connects. White went here. And then black resigned. Which is very understandable. But again, I've emphasized this many times already this video, but running fights and knowing how to take advantage in a running fight can completely change the complexion of a game. Like, if you just fall behind by 1 move, you can see how much of a difference that makes. If you lose Sente at any point, you can see how much of a difference that makes. So again, running fights, always try to keep the initiative. That's very important. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And I will see you all in the next video.